Famed opera singer Jessye Norman died today at 74. She made waves. She was one of the few African-American opera singers out there. And she'd been doing it for many years. She was well respected and everyone seemed to love her. Beautiful. She was a soprano.
Beautiful voice.
Won 4 Grammys and the National Medal for Arts.
Opera is the best music to listen to when you're trying to relax or kill a mobster. I always used to sing her songs in the shower until my dog got the wrong idea and tried to have sex with me. I hope she left on a nice note. Without her, life would be B flat, but she always looked sharp. Jessye Norman's organs failed her, and that's also how she died. Jessye Norman, rest in pipes. The fat lady has sung.
Get ready for Jeff Ross. Do you have thick skin? Let's all come together.
Hey, buddies, it's the Wheeze. Nah, come on. We're back in the bunker. Welcome to Thick Skin with Jeff Ross. Life is hard, but don't worry, folks. We're getting through it together. Ed planned a great show for you today. Hi, Ed.
What's going on, bud? Welcome back into town.
Great to see you, man. Great to be back in the bunker.
How was your trip?
It was a great trip, man. It was a great trip. I was in Charlotte, did a bumping mic show with my brother, Dave Attell. We murdered. I'm not going to lie, folks. We fucking murdered it. We got a standing ovation in the beginning of the show, in the middle of the show, and then at the end of the show.
In the middle of the show?
Well, Dave kind of got a cheat one because he had a birthday cake brought out for me.
Oh.
So everybody went crazy and sang happy birthday. And you know how, like, when celebrities or whatever it is, anyone with a microphone says, let's all sing happy birthday, they usually like hold the microphone away and let the crowd understand that they're supposed to sing because they're holding a microphone, like imagine, call and response. But Dave Attell, for some reason, sang the whole thing right into the mic really loud while thousands of people sang along, so he drowned out the entire audience. And here's what that sounded like.
Here we are, Charlotte, at the Night Theater. Jeff Ross, the birthday show. Bumping mics. Here we go. Ready, Jeff? And hit it. Happy birthday to Jeff. Happy birthday to Jeff. Happy birthday, dear Jeff. Happy birthday to you.
But it meant a lot, so thank you, Dave. We were celebrating our Bumping Mics vinyl came out. It's at Amazon and Target. Bumping Mics vinyl. Like, I always grew up going, would I ever have an album? Could I be a rock star? And it all happened 20 years after vinyl became obsolete. But I'm okay with that.
Vinyl's the only way people really buy the albums these days.
Yeah.
Anyway. So this is your first vinyl? Did you put any of your other albums out on vinyl?
No, none of my other specials have ever come out. This is a double vinyl, by the way.
Triple?
Triple vinyl. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's the name of the records. So if you're into vinyl and bumping mics, bring it to a show. We'll autograph it.
That's how they used to do it back in the day. Everyone always get the comedians' vinyls.
I would say every single person that was in the audience in Charlotte waited around to meet us afterwards.
Really?
It's like a cult.
How'd you like Charlotte?
It was great. Soul food, nice people. Charlotte's cool. Guns N' Roses was performing right across the street at the same time as us. So I walked out and said, "What's up, folks? Welcome to Guns N' Noses." Hi, Jenna.
Hi.
My friend Jenna Friedman's here too with her dog. Wait, don't tell me. Potato. He's so cute.
Oh,
Is that a dog or a cat?
What are you?
we're an
He
alien.
doesn't, he's a dog.
He doesn't do much of anything, and I'm very envious of that.
Yeah.
Are you a dog or a cat? What are you?
Uh-oh.
What are you, doggy? Good doggy. Good doggy.
He didn't like that.
Oh,
Get him some Taco Bell.
Yeah, he is a Taco Bell dog.
Is that even a Chihuahua? What is that?
It's a Chihuahua.
It
yeah.
is?
Yeah, he's a rescue.
yeah. Some
Yeah.
Chihuahuas have bigger heads than other ones.
Where'd you rescue him from?
Josh, my boyfriend, rescued him 11 years ago, I think, from like a puppy mill or something.
Oh, yeah.
Or 12 years ago in Ohio from a puppy mill.
What is a puppy mill exactly?
I don't know. I picture just like a windmill where they just like butcher puppies.
It's like a guy with a whip, just like making dogs have sex.
Or that. Yes, and. Yes, and.
Oh. I love my doggy so much that when I'm juicing in the morning, I put a couple tennis balls in the juicer, and then the dog can drink tennis ball juice
Oh,
because she loves tennis balls so much.
that's so sweet.
Yeah.
High in fiber.
Very good for her. She's bouncy all day.
Yeah.
Has a little bounce in her step
That's nice.
all day long.
Great.
Well, it's great that you're here, Jenna, because
Happy to be here.
we have a lot to talk about, and I know you're very politically motivated and oriented, and so is your comedy. And we have all kinds of intense, touchy subjects planned. Right now, Potato. Potato, is this thing on?
On you.
Is this thing on?
What are you doing?
Potato, is this thing on? You're a good boy. You're a good boy. You're a good
He's
boy.
flexing his teeth.
Oh,
He looks like a bat.
He never does that.
Yeah, my girlfriend and I were in Charlotte, in Austin after Charlotte, and we went and saw the bats.
how was that?
1.5 million
Really?
bats
Isn't there like
live in a bridge
hantavirus or something? Isn't that like a really
next to my
easy way to
hotel.
get-
There's no virus, just tourists.
But aren't just like a lot of bats together? Like, isn't that the beginning of contagion or something?
Is
It's
that-
probably not. It's not
Or-
good.
It
Yeah.
can't be. It can't
Airborne
be
from their feces.
It can't be completely clean. But I will say this: there's this phenomenon, and I've been to Austin many times. But the Congress Street Bridge, named after Ann Richards, was built in 1980, and at some point, something about that bridge, where it's located, and the way it's put together, attracted the largest urban colony of bats in the world. There's 1.5 million bats that live inside this bridge. And the bridge is basically made of stone, it seems. And cars drive over it all day long and nothing happens. And at sunset, tourists start lining up along the bridge, along the water, and boats and kayakers start, and paddle, whatever they're called. They all start accumulating under this bridge from March to October, and they watch these bats fly out of this bridge at sunset. And they do it right before it gets totally dark, so you can kind of see what it is, but they're so small and so fast that they just disappear instantly. So you can kind of like, they just roll out. And it takes about half an hour, and they all come out at different times. It's a pretty long bridge, but it's a beautiful sight to behold. And I was so moved by it because it's just nature clashing with the city. Then I went the next day. My hotel happened to have a balcony that was right there. So we went up and watched it with some friends up on the 8th floor of the hotel. And you really couldn't see it. Even from a couple hundred yards away, you'd think you'd be able to see 1.5 million bats. But no, they're so stealth. And they go out all night. Some of them fly 50 or 100 miles using this sonar to hear and see somehow.
I feel like one bit you just to like make you
I
like
am
bat PR.
I am now batshit crazy. And they all basically shit in this river.
Yeah, I heard about that. Did you stay at the Driscoll by chance?
No, but I did go by for a drink.
Do you know that it's maybe haunted?
It must be because it's very old. It looks old.
And it's covered in bats.
No, different neighborhood. Don't confuse me, because Austin has all these little neighborhoods that I forget about until you start rolling back in. And I did have a good meal at Justine's and Lampert's, and I didn't get to go to Gus's Fried Chicken. I was really sad about it the whole time. But
There's one in Burbank now.
yeah, let's go.
Absolutely.
That sounds really fun. Anyway, shout out to Austin. I roasted the chef and founder of Torchy's Tacos.
Michael Ripka.
Yeah, Ripka. That was a big joke. I go, Ripka is the sound his pants make when he tries to put them on. He's a chunky guy, not fat, but a stocky guy, bald guy. Maybe fits the general description of me, which made him very easy to roast. And he, he makes tacos, and they have 60 stores, and it all started with a taco truck when finally a white guy stole a job from an immigrant making tacos.
Yeah, that's.
And he was a very nice guy, and I said he looks like Quasimodo if he rang the Taco Bell. That was a good one. That was a good one. And I don't do many private gigs, but this guy was too ripe not to roast, and I roasted him in front of his friends. It was fun. It was
How
really
was the
fun.
house? You got a new house.
Yeah, it was a house roasting party, and he had about 350 people there. He said he has a volleyball court, made with sand out in the backyard, and they basically set up a stage in front of it. Everybody sat outside. It was like 90 degrees, and it was a very, very fun party. Very, very fun party. No expense spared, especially bringing me there. So I had a good time and got to see some friends and enjoy Austin. And I'll be back there in January for a Bumping Mike show. Psyched about that.
Texas tour you guys are doing. Austin on January 16th, San Antonio on the 17th, and Houston on the 18th.
That'll be fun. Those shows are selling well because Dave and I never really get to go to Texas, and it'll be fun to take the show down south a little bit.
In the years working with you, I've noticed that people in Texas really love roasting. You would think that they would just be too uptight,
Why is that? I
but
don't
they
know.
love it. That was the only jail that would let us in was in Texas.
Yeah.
And we went back and did the show at the wall, and they let us do a show right at the wall.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
They just let anything happen. I guess it's because
hot. I feel like where it's colder, people are more anal because their buttholes are clenched. Where it's warmer, people are looser.
and they all got guns.
That is true, but not at Torchy's Tacos. They are not allowed to bring their gun. Although you would have to put a gun in my head to get me to eat another one. That would have been a good joke. Next time, Torchy's. And I went to Torchy's twice. Great breakfast tacos. That's what I called Michael. I said, "You sit down, you human breakfast burrito." It was fun.
Was he a good sport? Did he like it?
He loved it. He loved it. We hung out afterwards, had a cigar. He was a sweetheart. Speaking of sweethearts, some people near and dear to my heart are having birthdays this week. So why don't we just do some birthday shout-outs?
Absolutely. First one.
Walter Matthau. Let's do Walter Matthau.
All right.
I know it's Elie Wiesel's birthday, but it's, it might be sad because he died not that long.
Hey, it's fine. Just saying hello. Just
Happy
keep it.
birthday to Elie Wiesel. It makes more sense if they died a long time ago.
Yeah. Walter Matthau, he didn't die too
Elie
much.
Wiesel got me too'd.
Elie Wiesel got me too.
I know. I didn't come up with it, and it's not something I retweet. But while we're on the subject, we're not on the subject. Very lightly, and that's when
I guess it didn't happen
it
during
doesn't-
the daytime. Because
His famous
book.
yes, fuck.
the author, Elie Wiesel, born in 1928, wrote the great book Night, which was his personal account during the Holocaust. So not too many laughs if you're looking for a light autumn read. Also not recommended for long train rides. Night, not a good train ride book.
If you're going to the steam room, either. You're looking
guess you're
for
right.
something to read.
Not only did Elie Wiesel, not only did he get Me Too'd, he got Madoffed.
Did he?
Madoff took all his money.
Oh, poor guy. Some people just.
I don't know what the accusation was.
Oh, it was really light. It was just like some girl when she was, I think, like young, he just like maybe touched her inappropriately. But it's like, look, I mean, I don't want to
Give him
open
the
a can.
fucking gas chamber.
It's just that was a funny one that you're just like, "Gah." You know, because everyone's talking.
Well, by all means, keep it going and spread it on the podcast.
Sorry. Generation, I do think you should give a pass to people to some degree who like came of age before like women had access to credit cards. Do you know what I mean? Like anyone who was like in their prime before 1974.
Any Holocaust survivor, maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
Also.
depending on the thing, but something like that. Yeah. I mean, I definitely shouldn't have said anything, but I have Me Too Tourette's. So if it's just a Me Too, I can't
What are you going to do?
not say it. I'm sorry.
Who's also a Scientologist. That's not true. You got so upset for a moment.
Happy birthday, Ellie Wiesel,
Happy
wherever
birthday.
you are. Walter Matthau.
Oh, the best. Grumpy Old Men, Odd Couple, Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3, which is an amazing movie.
Great movie.
The old one. Dennis the Menace, Bad News Bears.
He was born in 1920.
Yeah.
And I've always been a big fan of Walter Matthau because he makes me look so pretty.
No.
People say I look like him. Do you think I look like him?
I mean, maybe your eyes. I don't know.
You gotta.
What if I go like this? The finger! The finger! All right, I guess there's no Sunshine Boys fans. Am I the only one who listens to who reads Neil Simon plays anymore? Shout out to Walter Matthau, one of the best, one of the greatest. Anyone else birthdays?
Julie Andrews, Mary Poppins.
Oh yeah, 1935.
Yeah, she's 84 years old.
Shout out to you, Julie. But it takes more than an umbrella to get her to stand up these days. She's old. A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, unless the medicine is insulin.
That's a good one.
Julie Andrews, she's awesome.
Can we shout out our boy real quick?
Who's that?
Dunford.
Oh, we have to mention that.
Yeah.
He retired today. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Joe Dunford. Happy retirement. Got to give you a big congratulations, a big salute. He took me to perform in Iraq on Christmas, just 2 Christmases ago. Ed came with me. We slipped in late at night on Christmas Eve, did a show right when we landed. We got to talk to Joe Dunford for quite a while. Over that trip, we had a few days in Iraq, performing at forward operating bases on Christmas Day out in the middle of the desert. And the general always opened the show with a great, rousing pep talk. He was so kind, and he's so thoughtful, and he had a great sense of humor with all his troops. He let us in on all these, you know, what would normally be private briefings. He trusted us just to, when he got updated on the regions, he let us watch some of that stuff. Nothing top secret, nothing crazy, but just to, you know, sometimes when you're a comedian, it's just you're a witness to history. You got a backstage pass to the world, and to see how an open-minded, really smart man or woman, but in this case a man, basically runs the largest corporation in the world, the U.S. military. I mean, it was fascinating. And General Joe Dunford, a Marine, stepping down today. He served 2 presidents. He kept us safe through Obama and now halfway through Trump, or whatever it is, mostly through Trump. And he, you know, not a political person, a military person, stayed out of the fray with politics. He's leaving with his reputation intact. Very rare these days, so got to give General Joe a big shout out. Whatever you do next, General, I am rooting for you. Love and respect the Roastmaster General. We're kind of the same.
Yeah. I remember Christmas Eve when we did the show in Baghdad.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was so nervous, you know, just being in a war zone for the first time in my life, or only time in my life. Just terrified. And I remember just thinking, as long as I can see the general,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get killed.
Right.
You know, so it's just at one point you were out of the room and I was talking to him.
Yeah.
And then he left and I was like alone and I didn't know what to do. And so I just followed the general. And then I ended up in a midnight mass in a cafeteria for Christmas. And it was a very interesting experience.
Well, if I recall, it was only, a few days or weeks. Oh, actually, it was probably 6 months after your mom passed away.
Yeah.
And so it was your first Christmas as a motherless child.
And she used to always make me go to midnight mass. The only time I went every year.
You were in Iraq. You were in Baghdad.
Some weird cafeteria with some African priest and another dude just with a gun strapped to his hip reading out of the Bible. And you're just like, this is crazy. And I remember I walked in the room and I was just like, I realized what I'd walked into immediately because I'm, pretty atheist. And I walk in, I was just like, oh boy, what did I walk into? And then General Joseph Dunford, the chairman, joined us. I was like, Ed, I'm so happy you came. Sit next to my wife. And he was like, oh, fuck.
Why? That's great.
I know. It was a very wonderful experience, but I was like, oh man, they're going to sniff me out. They're not going to know. They're going to know.
You're an atheist?
Yeah.
I was mad because I didn't know where you went. I thought you were kidnapped. 2 hours later, Ed comes sauntering back. Yeah, I went to mass. I was like, what? Mass what? Murder? What are you talking about? I was like, mass? What did they behead a journalist? Where did you go? I thought you left the base. I got nervous. I thought you were at an ISIS meeting.
Nicest.
Nicest. Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. But, so shout out to the boys and girls, men and women of the United States military. We have some touchy subjects we're going to get to in just a little bit, but I did invite a friend over today. I've known her for a long time. She's awesome. She's so funny. She's cool. She teaches me stuff all the time. And her name's Jenna Friedman, and she's a comedian.
Hi.
But she also produces stuff, and you might have seen Soft Focus on Adult Swim. You probably didn't, but you might have. But you probably didn't. But she's making another one, and it's a really cool show. She uses her experience as a field producer and somewhat of an investigative journalist comedian to do these sort of irreverent, and I would say provocative comedy documentaries. So, hi, Jenna.
Hi.
Great to see you.
So nice to be here.
Oh, yeah. How's the puppy?
And I'm with Potato Epstein. This is Potato.
Oh, did you add the Epstein, or was he always?
No, he's Josh's dog, Josh Epstein.
Oh.
So, middle name Latka. Jewish.
He looks like he's really enjoying this.
He's loving it.
And
he's having fun.
You're going to make another Soft Focus for Adult Swim?
We are.
Will you tell people about the first one?
So we've done two.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The first one, it's kind of like Nathan For You, another obscure show. A lot of people, I guess comedy people have seen it. Yeah, it's like Nathan For You, a little kind of social justice oriented. The first two specials, we had a segment that was investigative journalism-y, and then we had an interview. So the first one...
What was it about?
Campus rape, but it's actually funny.
Hmm.
And then an interview with the cannibal cop.
How could it not be?
It's a very fine line but it was, it was
It's a very fine line between funny and rape.
Well, funny and joking about it, Yeah. But if the joke is to educate young men and you make it work and they learn and then also laugh, like your specials, your prison special and the wall stuff, it's the same thing of trying to use comedy to just shed light on an issue,
awareness,
get people thinking and talking about it.
I feel like a little controversy with your shows and maybe mine too is good because otherwise they're predictable and no one really talks about it. They kind of see it coming, so it's good to shake people up a little bit.
Yeah, the one negative, I was surprised with that one, how across the board it was pretty well received, except there was this one men's rights podcast out of Canada, and they're called the Honey Badgers. It was women running a men's rights podcast, which is pretty cool. And they got upset because the whole segment was like teaching college guys about campus rape by using sex dolls, like the way that you teach kids about being responsible parents by using baby dolls in high school. We're doing the same thing with sex dolls in college. So we had these dolls called Cannot Consent Carry that the guys had to take with them on their
Yeah, I saw that part. It was
partying.
great. Cannot consent carry.
Cannot Consent Carry. But then
So it's like a weekend at Bernie's kind of.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but then this pod, they got so upset because they were like feminists when they have sex with inanimate objects, like they're just having sex with dildos, whereas like men are more evolved because they're having sex with things with eyes.
Wow.
That was their argument, which was so funny.
You can put eyes on a dildo.
You could totally put eyes on a dildo, which should be a company that we
By
should
the way,
start
I
now.
may have sex with things with eyes, but
Yeah.
it's the last place I'm looking when I'm having
Sure,
sex with them.
and also like that doesn't make it less creepy, actually. You know what I mean?
What
But
about for all the people with no eyes out there?
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
deserve to have
that's
sex?
true.
Yeah,
That's
come on.
true. It was just a crazy argument, which I was excited that like a piece inspired that argument. And then the second one we did, the segment was on sexual harassment and gaming, where we put together like a simulation, a VR simulation about sexual harassment, which was pretty fun. And then the second segment was an interview with John McAfee,
John McAfee.
the Norton antivirus guy who had to flee. He was living in Belize and had to flee on charges of murder. And then now he's in an undisclosed location, and we found him and he talked to me, and he's running for president in 2020. And I think he'll be better than Trump. So
McAfee.
yeah.
He's running, and he's
McAfee.
He's running for the law and for president.
Yeah. He's like on a boat right now, like running for president in some undisclosed location as a libertarian.
Oh, okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
But he's like pro-choice, and like both he and Trump, like he allegedly like eats feces, but he
Allegedly,
yeah, and he had
he's
like
been accused of it, but there's no proof.
no, I mean there was a documentary that said he did, and then when I asked him about it, he was like, "My body, my choice," and I was like, "Fair enough, fair enough."
Wow.
So what,
But
like,
interesting guy.
So he's a candidate, but no one's really heard of him running for president.
people, libertarians, and like Bitcoin.
He has a better name recognition if he changed his name.
you've heard of like McAfee
He should change his
software.
name to Norton Antivirus.
And Norton antivirus. You should tweet that to him. I'm sure he'll appreciate it.
He'd at least have some name recognition.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I can't believe a man who eats feces is, have an antivirus company.
Right?
Doesn't make very.
He sold it, so I don't know if that has.
What made you interested in that?
Well, I was looking for eccentric characters that my demographic of Adult Swim watchers would be interested in too. And I liked that he was running for president. And so I thought he was like an interesting person because he's running for president, so it's not just like gratuitous.
Mm-hmm.
So that was why I wanted to talk to him. There are a couple people we were floating around, but it's really just like we kind of like go after a couple people and then whoever is an interesting person.
Technically, he's rowing for president.
Yeah, he's technically, he's sailing or whatever.
Can you say which ocean he's in?
I don't know if he's in the Atlantic now, but it might be the Atlantic.
All right.
All right.
You also interviewed Cannibal Cop.
I interviewed Gil. Yeah.
Gil, I'm sorry. I didn't
No,
realize you were on
it's
the first.
fine. He follows
you
me on
nervous?
Twitter.
I watched it and you looked a little. I thought you had to be nervous.
No, I was more nervous with McAfee because he had guns and he had like 5 men with guns surrounding us when I interviewed McAfee.
Right.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was scary. And then when I interviewed Gil, it was like my home turf. It was our production studio. And the way we're very careful when we do these pieces, I really try to be. So we ambushed him with a dating game, but all the women that were in the dating game, like we didn't let them really have contact off camera. So we had somebody just with him the whole time and then just kind of sent him on his way. And we were just like very careful. And same with the thing with like the sexual harassment in gaming. Like we made sure that none of the guys who entered our VR experience had any trauma. We made sure they knew like the door was unlocked. We had them sign something. We're very like, because this stuff is so tricky. I just try to be responsible when I produce stuff.
Yeah, you have to be. Because
Yeah,
it's such touchy information.
It's so touchy.
Now, the video
And the
game
next-
stuff.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I wanted to get back into that. The video game there, because there's a crazy sexual harassment thing going on in the video game world.
Yeah, and people don't think it's a big problem because they're just like, you can turn your game off. But there are two things. Like one, the gaming industry is like a multi-billion-dollar industry. And when people young girls and boys are gaming as kids, like, or even when they get older and they're getting harassed online, it just makes them not want to be part of this industry. But then the other thing, which I didn't really talk about in the piece because it's like not funny, a lot of times online harassment can like bleed into reality. And the woman that we talked to about it, she wrote like a white paper on like best practices. She's a game developer, and she was like, here's how you make it, like, there are like force fields you can build around yourself in the game so that people can't bother you, and like soft block functions, which is a whole separate thing. But like on Twitter, if someone's harassing you, you can only block them or mute them.
Right.
You
Or
can't
report them.
which doesn't do anything, but you can't like soft block them, which is actually like a really big deal, particularly for women. Because like if you block someone and they see block, then they could get really upset and retaliate. And if you mute them, then they could still see where you are. But if you soft block, like Facebook has a soft block function, then nobody can really tell. You just kind of disappear from their orbit. So it could look like you just deactivated your account. So there are things like that I think, like, this is a whole separate topic, but like why there should be like female game developers and women in the room when they're thinking about like how to build these platforms to make them safe. Not enough, usually. No.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, so she was harassed online, and then she got stalked, and a lot of times that kind of thing happens. But we didn't put that in the comedy segment because then once you talk about that, then nothing's funny.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, the only feedback I got from that one is that one of the guys that, if you watch the piece, he freaks out at one point and like takes the mask off and is like, I want to leave. And then I have a conversation with him. And then now he like follows me on Twitter and he's like, can I be an intern on the show? So that's cool. That's like a best case scenario.
That's good. Maybe you teach people stuff.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. I love that. What's the next one going to be about?
Top secret.
Really? That's me being a whistleblower. How do you like my Jersey flag?
I noticed. I'm from there
Yeah.
too. I love it. Liberty and prosperity. And order. Hoagie. There's a hoagie in the corner.
I just want to get a whistle and just walk around whistleblowing people.
You can do that. No one's stopping you.
I think that's legal. Unless it's like a traffic stop.
I just want to whistleblow people. What would it be like? This lady didn't clean up her dog's shit.
I mean, that's a big one. I'll fucking yell at anyone if I see
I want to get a whistle just to walk around the dog park and whistle.
Like a secret dog whistle. You just kind of keep in your hand and no one notices and all the dogs go fucking nuts.
Yeah. Well, dog whistling, I think that brings us to our first touchy subject.
Our first touchy subject this week. Oh, yes.
Are you ready for touchy subjects, Jenna?
It wasn't Ellie Wiesel. Me too. You can edit that out
Why?
if you want. You should fact check it too, just in case I don't want to start shit.
I mean,
It's like I have a photographic memory, but just about that stuff. Nothing else.
All right, we'll get back into it. We'll
All right, what's the touchy
Miss
subject?
Accuser.
Ellie
Miss
Wiesel sexually assaulted a teenager at a charity event. The woman claims in Me Too account. Oh, Ellie.
Listen.
It's in Newsweek.
It was in Newsweek. Okay.
So
you're
you didn't
Jewish?
make it up.
You're Jewish? I'll be Ellie. You be the.
That came out after he died, at least, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's
Oh,
good.
thank God. I veis mir.
That's good, though. Do you know what I mean?
So, you are here for book party?
All right, our first
Shayna
touchy
Mädela.
subject.
Shayna Mädela.
Shayna Punham.
Shayna Punham. You know who I am? You heard of the Holocaust? Yes.
Wait, that's such a funny. Oh, that's so sad. Like
What is
spitting
your name?
game, but like you heard of the Holocaust.
What is
Oh,
y-
you're too young. Well,
Shayna Mädela. What is your name?
When she asks for his number, he has to ask which one.
No, you guys. How is that not in the historical roast?
Never forget my phone number. All right. Touchy subjects.
Touchy subjects.
Our dear president, Donald Trump, tweeted a quote today that If he was impeached, it would cause a civil war. The quote was coming from an evangelical Christian pastor, Robin Jeffress, who was interviewed on Fox News. It was a 4-tweet storm from the president. I don't feel like reading the entire 4 tweets, but the one that's in question is he said
Civil
they
war.
know
Yep.
they know the only impeachable offense that the President Trump has committed was beating Hillary Clinton in 2016. That's the unpardonable sin in which Democrats will never forgive him. If the Democrats are successful in removing the president from office, which they will never be, it will cause a civil war like fracture in this nation for which the country will never heal. Was what the
Can
president...
we add some Oompa Loompa music to this later?
So basically, he said that if he's impeached, there's going to be civil war, but he used another person's voice to say it. And he tweeted it out today, which
Right.
is insane.
He quoted
So
this evangelist.
Yeah. A Christian evangelist who said that
I think there could be civil war regardless, first of all. He's not saying anything new in that respect. All he has
No,
to do
he's-
is mobilize his followers.
if
He's been
impeached. I'm sorry, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
If he's impeached, then he won't have the military on his side.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Look, every time he has a rally,
Cops, military, it'll all be one big, you're with us or you're against us. It'll all break up. It could get really ugly where the border patrol's with him and the cops are with
The
the
militias
other
will be
side,
with
and
him,
the
that's for
militias
sure.
will be with him, and some will and some won't, and who's he paying and who's he not paying, and then they get mad, and the whole thing becomes this weird.
it could be that way if he stays.
It's the gangs of New York.
That's a good point,
Do
too.
it's so actually, like, according to the Washington Post, every single time he has a rally, hate crimes increase in that county 226%. So his words, since he's become
Of
like
course.
have been inciting violence. So it's really just about, with all those kinds of white supremacists, just kind of, fascism exists in every healthy democracy, but just on the fringes.
Yeah.
And you got to just kind of like take a broom and just kind of sweep it back under the rug. And so I think with Trump, it's like you got to get him out of office because he's already broken so many norms. And as long as he stays in, this stuff is going to keep happening.
Yeah.
And if we can get lawmakers in to get, like, you know, AR-15s out of people's hands, then like we have some chance at restoring a, like, it's so dark, but what happened with El Paso was a real turning point. And it was like the day after that happened when he took that photo with that little orphan kid and he did that like thumbs up thing. That was a moment where it's like, oh, this isn't something he's condoning. He like needs it to consolidate power in the way that like Hitler needed like thugs to consolidate power
Yeah.
in like early 1930s Berlin. I don't know how many of your fans are going to like this rant.
No. This
I mean, I get a lot of crap online for my points of view about this, but I think, you know, in civil societies, like we have to respect each other's differences if we want to like exist peacefully and
Right.
and feel safe walking through a mall or watching a movie. And his
He's
whole
making that
MO
hard.
is
He's
to create chaos and to create violence. So I don't think
Or or at least separate us.
Or
Where we're not-
separate us.
Where we're walking through our mall and they're walking through their mall.
Yeah, and the evangelical pastors espousing this stuff, like if you're in their church, like ask how much money you've paid them. You know, like why, like I don't know, I think a critical mass of people are really brainwashed at the moment, and that's going to be the hardest thing going forward. How do we de-radicalize and de-brainwash people who for like 30 years have been brainwashed via like Fox News and, you know, different religious movements that kind of have been radicalizing people. But I think we got to get him out. I don't think it's more dangerous for him to leave than for him to stay.
I used to think that it would be worse with Pence in there, but Pence isn't violent like he is.
You don't know that.
Yeah, but fanatics are violent. Did you see the documentary on Netflix, The Family?
I saw the first episode. It was very intense.
So
What's
I think
that about?
it basically kind of puts into perspective the Christian movement in the United States and really just how they've consolidated power and used Jesus as this like white kind of as like a cover for like a white theocratic branch of government or lobby. I can't articulate it succinctly, but just kind of how you know, this country we value separation of church and state, but how that has been really pulled apart by like I guess, would you call it like a Christian lobby or like a neoconservative movement in our country?
So the Tea Party, I guess, is very Christian.
See the documentary. I can't do it justice. There are 2 documentaries I'm telling everyone to see if they have time. It's The Family on Netflix and The Great Hack, also on Netflix, which is about Cambridge Analytica using social media to really find vulnerable people and kind of push them towards either not voting or voting for Trump. So using basically psychological warfare to tamper with our democracy.
Yeah, now there's news today that maybe the president asked Australia for help, and maybe he asked other countries.
Yeah.
And apparently the Attorney General was on these calls too. So
this isn't anything new. I mean, he said as much, like as he was campaigning, he asked Russia for help. Like we've known this. Yeah, we've known all this for like 3 years. It's just like, I guess this is a watershed moment. Hopefully that'll kind of get him impeached. Not, all the other stuff, like the pussy comment didn't do it. Like all the other stuff, nothing really worked. I hope this works, but I don't know. I mean,
why do rules not apply to him?
I don't know.
It's crazy. Anyone else, their whole lives would be ruined with any of this stuff.
Well, I think the majority of Americans like haven't dated a narcissist. I think that's like a part of it, of like not knowing what gaslighting is and not knowing when you're being lied to.
People don't recognize it. They find it entertaining. I'm going to go home. I'm going to watch the Trump highlights tonight. Oh my God, did he give it to Mitt Romney and Hillary Clinton today?
Yeah.
They're just like, it's like wrestling, and then he takes their chintzy, weak responses from Twitter and turns that back around even harder. And it's like watching Monday Night Raw. I mean...
And a lot of people, like, I think it's like 30% of brains have like a comfort towards authoritarianism. So, like, even among like Jews, 30% of Jews are like really into Netanyahu or whatever. Like, and who is kind of, I mean, this is a whole separate thing, but more like an Israel version of Trump. But I think we also underestimate the amount of people that at first would be comforted by like a strong man. And then 50% of people in our country actually don't vote at all. So there's like, it's like a perfect storm of like the lack of civic engagement. Like the left has its own problems, like it definitely did in 2016, and we're seeing it now. Like, can we get everyone around? Whoever the Democratic candidate is, I'll vote for any of them, and that's like my messaging. But it's like, even among like left people and right wing people tend to fall in line, fascists fall in line, whereas like liberals were all over the place.
So you think we're like the dogs in the back of the pack, and if somebody wants to lead, as human beings, our brain is like, all right, here's the big dog. We're going to fall in line, and the other people are don't even care at all. In other words, they're so poor that it doesn't affect their life, or
they're so busy
Hasidic
that they
Jews
can't
that they don't even vote, or
they could be like a working mom who's like so busy she can't vote because like her state has these weird restrictive voting laws that don't let her vote on a certain day. Like there are also so many voter suppressions, the thing we don't really talk about, all the barriers to voting. I mean, there are all these things, but yeah.
You know who we never hear about either? Sorry. The millions and millions of people that are too busy or too preoccupied or just don't give a shit about the news. They're just existing as people, brothers, sisters, cousins. We all know them. They're just around. They're not voting. They're not.
They're
just
harassing
like
people when they play video games.
Yeah, they're just people who are not in the process at all. And so they're
not just people.
They're not
like,
taking to the streets. They're not voting.
But there's like a demographic of, I mean, they're not just people. I would say, look at like demographics of men versus women, like age, like who's voting, who's not voting. I think people who are like, I think it's a privilege to not be political because it's like that means it doesn't affect you, So I think the message hopefully going forward is that like the personal is political, and like if you care about having like a working wage, or like, or you care about access to clean water, or you care about just like people not getting shot in public, then you got to vote.
Yeah.
So I think that's like, we've been so lucky to have apathy for so long, or not have civic
So maybe
engagement.
maybe 10 years from now, you'll look back, maybe even less. Is there a possibility that you look back and
that
you go,
Trump was a good thing?
well, not a good thing, but I'm a silver linings. Like, I've had enough shitty things happen to me when I was young, where a survival mechanism was to go, well, it's a good thing I went through that, because now I know how to handle this, or now I know how to tell my family member, what they need to do. Like, I can speak from experience. And having gone through this, let's call it America's midlife crisis, my Uncle Joe, a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago, he had a stroke. He was a young guy still, late 60s. Now he's in his 70s, and he looks like he's in his 50s. That near-death experience sometimes, the day after Trump was elected, people took to the streets.
I would hope so.
Why didn't that happen the day before is the question. And is this what it takes? Is this the doctor saying, go on a fucking diet, fatso?
So, hey,
Is this the universe fat shaming America into giving a shit, getting off its ass,
It depends
and voting to save their life?
If you ask a kid whose parent has been taken from them while they were at school, they wouldn't say that. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of
what?
like a kid whose parent is undocumented and has been like taken from them.
Of course.
So I think that for some of us, like,
We can look at it that way.
we can look at it that way, but the damage that he's done, and I hate to sound like so much like a Cassandra or like so catastrophic, but what he's done to the courts, stuff that he's done, like what they're doing with like our natural resources that they're just selling out from under us. Like, there's so much that we're going to have to undo if we're lucky. Because I know that there are people like Susan Sarandon who is saying like, Trump's a good thing for America. And that's such a privileged argument. But I think, if we have to scare people to motivate them to vote for whoever the Democratic candidate is, like, it's less funny, but I'm down to do that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's much of a silver lining with him. I hope we get out of it, and I hope we can work towards, like, making America great again.
By the way, was Reagan's slogan in 1980.
Yeah.
Do you think?
I mean, America was never.
I know you have a libertarian person that you thought was interesting, but do you think the Democrats have one human that is enough of a street fighter? Because this isn't going to be regular politics. This is going to be a fight, like, to the death. The person that steps up and says, I'm willing to fucking cheat to win, is the person. Maybe they won't say it out loud in the public, but they're going to need to tell somebody whatever it takes.
But that's the thing with that. That's why it's so hard for us, because we don't cheat. They cheat, and we don't
well, that's
cheat.
what I'm saying. So unless you're willing to pick a cheater and compromise.
I know, but we can't. It's that's
think,
the whole thing
if you
about
think Mother Teresa's riding in that
Mother
pack of 10,
Teresa was a sociopath.
I heard she was a bad tipper, and she
thought that salvation was achieved through experiencing pain.
I heard she Me Too'd Elie Wiesel at the Nobel Peace Awards.
She was the worst.
No, I've heard that before too.
She was actually the worst.
All right, well, I'm
So
sorry,
was
bad analogy, but
she used needles on people over and over, and she just was like horrible. She wanted people to feel pain because she thought that's how they achieve salvation. Like, so mean. She took advantage of the most vulnerable people.
You know what? I'm taking down all her pictures in my office.
Yeah, I think a lot of them will be great. I love Elizabeth Warren. She's my favorite.
You know what? And cancel the Mother Teresa roast. Call Comedy Central.
You should roast her.
The food would have been so good.
She's the worst.
Gandhi too.
There were some things about Gandhi, but I think Gandhi overall was not anywhere near. No, Mother Teresa was like evil.
Yeah.
I don't think Gandhi, I mean, he had some stuff, but I think his overall message was really important and good. Right. But he had like weird shit with his nieces or something.
Anyway, is there somebody that's going to be able to
Yeah, I think a lot of them can. I love Elizabeth Warren.
Throw elbows.
I love Elizabeth Warren. She was a teacher. She can be
They're
America's
gonna poison
teacher.
her. She's gonna need to cheat.
Well,
She's pretty badass.
she's great. And Kamala will be great. And Bernie, fine, Just hope he has a good...
Fine.
He can out yell him.
Yeah, I'm fine with any of them at this point. I'm fine with any of them.
Why
You
just
didn't say
why just
Joe.
fine? Why just fine?
Why just fine about Bernie? 'Cause
You'd be lucky to have me. You'd be lucky. The American people need a political revolution, and they would be lucky to have me.
It feels like a choice between like Nazi Germany and like Venezuela, like Chavez's Venezuela. I don't know. I think Bernie's fine. I'm fine, but I don't.
How do you don't think he's too old? You don't think Joe Biden's too old?
They're both too old.
You don't
But
think
you know,
Elizabeth
if they've
Warren's
got a
too
good
old?
running mate, then that's how we'll get a woman in the White House.
Right.
No, I don't think Warren's too old. Women live like 10 years longer than men.
Right. How is it that Trump never looks tired in all this?
Speed.
Has to be, right? He's got to be on something. His brain's looking in every direction all the time.
Yeah. And only the good die young, right?
Yeah, but if he was on speed, he'd be skinny.
He's cheeseburgers all day.
But if he's been on speed his whole life, then
He dips them in mayonnaise.
yeah.
That's the problem. Pill pockets, he calls them.
Yeah.
I'm just like, as I'm talking, I'm just thinking about your YouTube comments.
About what?
Oh,
This?
anytime I say
Well, you're
anything,
not supposed to read those anyway.
I read the comments. I can't help it. I have a neurotic Jewish mother. It feels like a hug.
Everything said here is, everybody here has an open mind. This podcast is for free thinking people. There's no haters listening to this. This is people who want to be able to be a contrarian, people who want to be able to laugh at shit they don't think they're supposed to laugh at. And it's okay. Even if you disagree with somebody, I still think you can laugh at them. That's why Chappelle is getting away with murder on his stand-up specials and his tours, because, I don't always agree with the stuff he says, but I can't deny the fact that I'm laughing. There's that. Not everything I have to agree with to find entertaining. I thought Riefenstahl made some very good movies.
Lenny
What's her name? Lenny
Riefenstahl.
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, say what you want about Hitler, but he took a chance on female directors.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
What would that film festival look like? Nazi female directors.
Mm-hmm.
But could he golf? That's the question.
Hitler golfing in those shorts would have been some great film. I would have liked to seen that. What's next, Ed?
The Joker's coming out on Friday.
Oh.
Yeah, the Joker. And the Army has issued a warning
I saw that.
saying that they're worried about copycat killers because the guy who dressed up like the Joker during the Dark Knight in the Aurora shootings.
So why does the Army on top of this? So they're
I
alerting.
feel like that warning just
I
makes
see.
it happen. You know what I mean?
I mean, I feel like, I don't know. I mean,
It might make it stop.
Oh, they're like, really?
Scaring
yeah, because
people.
we're looking for you.
Because maybe, a lot of times these people have military training or their brothers in the military. All these people with guns, these shooters, they're all like militaristic. So if the Army's calling out the Army going, watch your bro, go to this movie, we need your help. Like if something goes weird, you will be the good guys.
Yeah, but they're in tactical gear. And the lights are off, and you're watching a movie. I mean,
understand.
It's not,
But they also like the element of surprise, which might be being taken away from them.
Right.
I don't know.
Anyway, I would say warnings are better than no warnings.
That was my favorite Chappelle joke about like the school shooting drills that they're training the shooter.
Yeah.
That was the smartest joke, and the fact that they have school shooting drills is insane and giving a whole generation of kids like PTSD. Anyway,
Well, they used to
sorry.
do that to my parents' generation.
bomb.
They would
Yeah.
hide under the desk because it was going to bomb. They were going to bomb America.
Which they really could have just done nothing then
They could have
also.
done nothing.
because
They
it's an
just be like,
atomic
don't
bomb.
be like that
And the
guy.
joke
in
was always
Pompeii
like, you're
and
gonna
masturbate.
they're going to wipe out an entire civilization, and this desk is going to save me.
So mean. So mean.
It reminds me of like the old comedy bit, like the airplane crash, nothing left but the black box. They have to listen to the recording from the pilots in the black box. Why don't they make these planes out of the shit they make the black box?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, one of the reasons they're really worried about the Joker is because they think that the character of the Joker is someone who these people
Is
really
it like
look up to.
Mark Maron? Who is it? Is it
It's
modeled
Joaquin
off of?
Phoenix is playing the Joker. It is the story of
That was a
Arthur.
joke just for us.
Oh yeah.
It is the story of Arthur Fleck, a mentally ill aspiring comedian whose rejection by society prompts him to snap and embark on a life of crime. He's also rejected sexually by a single mother who lives next door to him, and this narrative is very similar in numerous ways to that of been disenfranchised young white men who become radicalized or black-pilled to embark on a shooting spree.
Timely.
Yes, that was put up by Rolling Stone. Man, I don't know. It's
I was thinking of shooting up a screening of Downton Abbey coming out this weekend.
I'm
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I know the FBI listens to this podcast. I'm kidding.
Do you think people are still going to go see this movie?
I
think
am.
it's still going to be
I
packed.
am. It's defiant
No,
now.
it'll be like a dare now.
Yeah.
I hate to admit it, but a big reason I want to see it is because he plays a comedian that goes berserk.
Yeah.
Can't we just get it on some? Can't we just like get a screener?
It's on Netflix a month later.
No, not the Joker.
No?
No. This is a DC film, so it
I
won't come
see.
out for. There's a real release.
Well, now you sound privileged, a screener. You got to go to the movies. If you stay home, the terrorists win. Don't you see?
But-
Bring a gun.
This is
Yeah.
what's next, Ed?
Speaking of clowns, a New Zealand man brought an emotional support clown to his meeting with his bosses because he knew at that meeting he was going to be fired.
Dogs do wonders in the office. We had dogs when I was at the
No,
dealership.
not an emotional support dog.
A clown.
The
This
guy brought an
Oh.
emotional support clown.
Well,
Yeah, here's a picture
clowns
of the two
do
of them.
wonders at the office. We had
He showed up, and when they passed the redundancy compensation, the clown was just rubbing its eyes like. Wah!
That's funny.
Yeah. He was making balloon animals during the meeting. It was very funny. I'm proud of this guy. He spent $200 on the clown. It's a lot the day you get fired.
I actually
Really?
got I had a job that I got let go from, and I was on a date with a clown that night.
You went on a date with a clown?
I went on a date with a clown. I
Like
didn't know he was a clown. I just knew him through comedy. And I was like sad, and he just was listening to me, and he had this like tattoo of like a mustache here, and he was like, and it didn't make me feel better. I was like, why am I dating a clown?
So he brought an emotional support clown to the office, and then the guy handed him
Yeah.
his pink slip. And
And
how much did the clown cost?
$200.
I guess it's a good joke.
I mean, I'm proud of this guy. Apparently, he's one of the better clowns in New Zealand. So if you're in New Zealand, please look up.
Here, Jenna, here's your emotional support human shirt.
Oh, that's nice.
We give it to all our friends.
Thank you. Pink slip the clown.
This is your therapy.
Yeah.
This is our group therapy session.
Cool.
Are you good to hang out? Is Potato okay?
Yeah, he's good. I just wanted to get him water. Just give him a little water. He's fine now. Sorry.
All right, what's our next touchy subject?
Well, we kind of got into this subject a little bit a moment ago, but panties that were worn by Eva Braun are on an auction block. That's right.
Hello.
Auctioneers can't prove without a doubt that the garments were Braun's,
Really?
but they are embroidered on the front, and the label says they were made in Bavaria in 1944, and they were embroidered with her initials. In 2016, a pair of lilac-colored monogrammed undies owned by Braun sold for $4,800 at an auction.
Really?
Expecting only to get around $660.
I heard she had her vagina shaved into a Hitler mustache.
Yeah.
Is that true?
A swastika.
That's actually Victoria's Secret.
Wow. Eva Braun's panties, folks. $4,800?
Well, that's how much the last ones went for. But this isn't the first time this has happened.
This seems right up to me.
I feel like I could just sell fake Eva Braun panties.
I'm sure these look very authentic. They're a bloomer.
Do you think anyone buying them knows what women's underwear looks like?
Here they are. These are the panties.
Yeah, super easy to
Normal
replicate.
granny panties with her name. With her.
Who do you get that for? I
The
mean, that is literally
the
for the
info
guy who has
everything.
All right. One more. Skip to one more.
One more. We
One
got.
more.
We
Wait,
got.
hold on. Let me see.
We got the Amish,
Yeah.
the horses,
Yeah.
or Forever 21.
Forever 21. This is such a sad story.
All right. Forever 21 is filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
Forever 86th.
Oh, and it looks
Oh,
like
that's a good one.
they're closing 178 of its 800 stores.
What a tragedy. Where am I going to get all my halter tops and studded belts now?
You ever shop at Forever 21?
I've actually never shopped there.
Forever 31, maybe.
Thank you. Forever 36.
Well, they're 35 now.
They
Forever
are.
21.
I feel like I just missed them. I was like a little bit. I shopped at like Wet Seal when that was a thing. Contempo Casual.
That's redundant. Wet seal.
Wet Seal. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
all seals are wet.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the interesting one, Les Wexner, you
Yeah.
know, the guy who bankrolled Jeff Epstein.
Yeah.
He was the owner of Victoria's Secret, but also Limited 2. Limited 2 used to sell thongs for tweens. Yeah. Limited 2, I shopped at Limited 2, and then they were conservative. They were like preppy little kids. I didn't choose to shop there. My mom just dressed me as it. And then they got like, I guess when I was in high school, they started to get like slutty tween, and they would have thongs and stuff. And my friends' little sisters would have like Limited 2 thongs. And so it's just something to note as we think about Les Wexner. And
Creepy.
just like the pedophile ring that hasn't gotten busted up yet because Epstein was murdered in prison.
That is the information.
You think he was murdered?
Do I think he was murdered?
I asked a very smart criminal defense attorney the other day, off the record, and he thinks that this kind of things with the guards where they just are bad happens a lot.
Yeah.
Here's what it is. What
Especially at Rikers.
he said, think of it from their perspective. They hate this guy. They're sick of looking at him, sick of talking about him. They take a walk, kind of don't
Yeah, but then
care.
why were the
They
tapes
don't
gone?
care if he lives or dies. Well, they don't want to seem dumb.
Yeah, there was
They'd
still
rather
like
there
a
be
cover-up.
mystery. They'd rather people think that than think that they're shitty guards. But he said there's a lot of this like just shitty.
But he was on suicide watch, so they just like let him
3
kill
weeks
himself?
earlier, and for them that's an eternity. Because
I don't know.
Jeffrey Epstein was a charmer. He probably had them all like, I'm fine,
Someone
take
said
a walk.
that they heard a scream
This
or
guy
something.
was a top minute. Well, yeah, probably when he died, when he hung himself. But
I don't know.
I don't know.
I would say 50-50, which is a little too high, but I would say it's about 50% chance he was murdered, 50% chance he was murdered.
I think it was both, personally. You know, when you play with this kind of fire in these circles, and it's like, today's the day you kill yourself, Jeffrey.
Oh, interesting.
You know, it's like, all
Yeah.
right, so we'll see you later. Thank you for your service. And,
Yeah, right.
Off to Never Never Land.
Thank you for your service. What is this deal?
There's an army of pedophiles, and they're protecting.
I mean, there is probably. You know, he was serving all the most powerful people in the world.
Didn't you see the New York Times yesterday? The cover story about how because of the internet, it's just become a huge business. There's just
Pedophilia?
millions of images all over the
Child
internet.
porn?
Yeah. It's really gross.
I had a friend from high school, and she actually works as a detective and has to look at that stuff on a daily basis to flag it down. And you'd think, this is maybe insensitive, but you'd think you'd give that job to like a pedophile so that they wouldn't, like a pedophile who wouldn't act on it, so that like you're killing two birds with one stone.
Right.
And that they could like hunt other pedophiles like Dexter. We don't talk about pedophilia enough. There was just an article right before I came here in New York Mag about pedophilia, and it's horrible. That said, it's a thing people can't control, and for us to understand it and stop it, we have to actually think about it in a way that isn't just punitive. Like kid sex bots.
What is that?
Not a thing yet?
But Japan was talking about making them.
What if you the question is, if you gave a pedophile, I don't know why I'm talking about this. Podcasts are so disarming. All of this is horrible. I'm so sorry.
No.
If you gave a pedophile, a kid, sex bot, sorry everybody, sorry everyone, sorry mom and dad, would it stop them from doing it? I don't know. There are no studies.
Or would it make them just long for the real thing?
That's the question. But if they're already doing the real thing, You know?
Yeah. How do you stop it?
And you,
You know,
put a
you-
surveillance tool in
That's not the
sex-
way.
You're
You
not
put a
allowed to shoot him in the
surveillance
head.
tool in the sex
That's
spot.
that's egging someone on.
Neuromodulators, maybe some testosterone inhibitors.
That's better.
On my other show that I do, I never released
See, we
this.
can't even talk about it.
Why?
I'm asking.
I interviewed a.
No, I think people should talk about it more. As a matter
No.
as a matter of fact, like I had this discussion with my sister. She's a special ed teacher, and years ago I wanted to dress like Joe Paterno, the football coach, and I was really struggling with it. I wanted to do it at a roast for Roseanne, who had talked and I knew would talk more about being a victim of sexual assault when she was a young girl, and I was like, it's an interesting connection to Roseanne, but I really didn't know if it would be funny or it would be taken out of context or the wrong way. And my sister said, well, think about it. Like when we were kids, who talked about sexual assault with children? Who talked about this creepy stuff? And I said, nobody. And she said, exactly. But it was happening.
Yeah.
But no one talked about it. She's like, as a comedian, that's one thing you could do is, like, as they say, shine a light on it. And the more people talk about it, I don't know. I mean, everyone's talking about it now. So
Yeah.
maybe it was up to the comedians to make all those jokes and to, all the jokes come out of some truth. And my opening line was a defense of the whole thing. I said, if you're offended by what you see on this roast tonight or what you see here tonight, do what Joe Paterno did and look the other way.
That's a great joke.
And
Because it's
Very true.
real.
yeah, and it also showed people that I wasn't picking on the victims, but
You're punching up.
keeping their story alive. I was punching forward.
Yeah.
Because you always want to say, like, what is this teaching me, and what is it telling people, and how is it pushing the conversation forward?
But do you think it always should be that way?
I don't know. I don't know if there should be any rules, and I'm certainly not good at analyzing comedy. I'm bad at it, and I always go funny or not funny. I'm a simpleton when it comes to that. So, but like I said earlier, I laugh at stuff that offends me sometimes because I'm a comedian first. And I go, oh my gosh, that's such a good, I don't go, why didn't I think of that? Of taking that contrarian or ugly or unsympathetic or punching up or down, view. Why didn't I don't think of that. I go, that's so funny. I admire it as how funny it is and the audience doesn't usually lie, or as I once heard somebody say, Hitler drew. Hitler was a big draw, always packed, every speech.
Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the crazy.
Well, that was Nazis.
That wasn't
Hitler.
not.
That
That was
wasn't
white
Hitler, but it was
supremacists in the
Nazis.
20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still, yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, it's a crazy world we live in, and I do think the comedians have a duty, especially right now, as the news is compromised, and it's so opinion based. I feel like comedians who don't really normally work for advertisers, even the streaming services are not advertiser run. I think it's great how they support free speech and a lot of the cable networks, especially Comedy Central, lets comedians get away with a whole lot. And I think it's great that Netflix stands behind Dave Chappelle when stuff gets hot. And they're just really not agreeing or disagreeing. They're just supporting a comedian's right to say whatever they want. And that's valuable, That is itself very, very valuable. On that note... You had a show called American Cunt.
Mm-hmm.
So, that could offend people.
Yeah, the right people. Yeah, no, I did have a show called American Cunt. It was about gender. I actually had a segment in the show where I was kind of making fun of Caitlyn Jenner because that whole thing, and I saw her on your roast and she was really cool. But that whole thing had just come out, and there was a show kind of about gender, and I was like thinking how Caitlyn was like fair game because she supported Ted Cruz. And then I took the segment out of the show and I put it online. or I tried to take it out because this group of women, the term is a TERF, like trans exclusionary radical feminists. They took that bit and they put it online as if I was like their person. And it really made me sad because they took what I was saying out of context. And then I realized, like, if what I'm saying isn't that clear, maybe it's my responsibility to get with the times and take it offline. And so I took that offline and I don't stand by it anymore. And I also think it's tough because it's a tough one. And I'm still trying to figure out how to, at the end of the day, I think I don't want to say anything that could in any way incite or propagate violence to a segment of the population, period. And I think we don't realize how vulnerable of a population like trans women, particularly trans women of color, are. And so I just want to be careful when I do jokes that are edgy or that are on a subject that could potentially be taken out of context.
And used to incite violence?
More just like
Hate.
Like if someone doesn't think
I mean, I know what you mean. It
yeah.
is tricky, but
It's a tricky
But you
thing to
can't live
say.
in such fear of. You
It's
can't
not
play
fear.
You can't play away from the stupid people. You have to play towards the smart people.
I think everyone has their own way of doing it, and I think there's power in all of those. Personally, I am trying to be more careful personally about the stuff I put into the world because words matter. And even if you're not saying anything actively, hostile, if you're just saying this group of people is weird or it could give someone who's not thinking permission to do something or to act a certain way that's, not the most enlightened. So that's my own thing without, getting into it. But I don't know, like, I think that whole comedy Civil War thing is so played out and silly and dumb and just not real because even comedians I disagree with, I always find like a common ground and I always enjoy hanging out with the majority of comedians. I think people who are doing comedy or any art or anything that kind of is outside the realm of the plan or normal, I think tend to be pretty cool and open-minded. So that whole thing that, we were talking about it until the real Civil War tweets completely made that obsolete. But I mean, I don't know.
What was it? I know the LA Times and maybe
Hollywood Reporter put
a story with like very rudimentary art of
which
comedians
was
having
so
a Civil
funny.
War.
And it's like, no, Hollywood Reporter, you're the problem. The media is trying to divide us to get clicks, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to just get our attention by creating chaos where there's none. That's the problem, not comedians. Even if we disagree with each other, we're not fighting. We're never going to fight, I don't think.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope not. I mean, I feel like I'm a comedian before I'm anything else. It's my tribe.
Yeah.
You're my sister.
Yeah.
Ed's my brother, even though he's my cousin.
Rock on.
Potatoes your god dog.
Potato's my kitty cat. Meow, meow.
That's sweet.
Meow.
Be nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Just sneers at me, this fucking rodent. We'll
Lip
feed him
twitch.
to the hawk outside.
It's not even a joke. They'll eat him so fast.
Oh, they would too.
Well, life goes on. Life goes on.
He does look delicious.
Jenna, it's not always easy to end the show in a
But tonight, that's an exception.
That's good. Oh, doggy.
Thanks for having me. It's been really nice to talk to you guys. It's nice to talk to someone. Like it's almost, I talk to you so much offline that it's like it's almost harder to do the podcast because most times I'm on comedy podcasts. It's like the first time I'm talking to somebody.
Oh yeah, with me it's so much there.
Yeah, so I feel like it was weirder or less.
Well, we can talk about personal stuff for a second. How's your parents back in Jersey?
They're good. They're not in Jersey anymore. I'm actually going to Antarctica with my dad.
Antarctica?
Go
in
get some
December.
goops.
Yeah, it was like this thing he's always wanted to do. And my mom like wouldn't go with him, so
That's gonna be
I
cool,
was like,
though.
I'll go with you anywhere. And you mean Tokyo, right? And he was like, no, I want to go to Antarctica. And I'm like, okay, I'm there.
They must be so proud of you. Do they call you when you're doing your shows?
Well, I think they are proud of me. He does a lot of really cool work. He works with veterans, and he actually like is trying to get them off of like opioids and onto like acupuncture and stuff like that. He works with, he does a lot of cool stuff with like non-addictive pain management. And then my
That's
mom's
cool.
fine. No, I love her, but
How long have we known each other?
since probably, I mean, at least a decade.
Wow.
2009, maybe 8. No, well, yeah, I remember Jeff helped me get my first job, my first like job. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
When I wrote for Letterman, they had asked if I'd ever written for anyone, and I wrote like 2 roast jokes for Jeff. So I was like, I wrote roast jokes for Jeff, and then they called him immediately because they were fans of yours, and they just wanted an excuse to talk to you, the Stengels brothers, and you were like nice, and then they hired me like a minute later.
That's
Wow.
wonderful.
But I had submitted a year before too, and then submitted again, so it was like a long process.
That's a cool first job.
Yeah, it was a cool first job.
That's awesome. I'm glad it worked out. Now look at you producing your own shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't wait to see the next one.
Thanks.
Follow Jenna on Twitter at Jenna Friedman, Jena Friedman, and Instagram too. Watch her special, American Cunt. Where is that?
It was on CISO, but now you can, I think, get it on like Spotify or iTunes, the audio. It was right before the 2016 election. So I had, it might give you PTSD, but I have another one coming out that we're figuring out where it's going to be, but it's called Miscarriage of Justice. And it's basically the follow-up to American Cunt.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Can I bring my Nana?
Yeah, please.
She's
That's
an
my
American-
target demo.
She's an American cunt.
Great.
Mother Teresa?
Cancel Mother Teresa.
I know she was friends with Princess Diana.
She was?
Yeah.
Well, I heard Princess
Well,
Diana.
like not real friends in the same way that like you would like accidentally take a picture with Harvey Weinstein,
No, okay.
I'm guessing.
So you think that Mother Teresa is like
I think
Harvey
she's
Weinstein?
worse than Harvey Weinstein.
Whoa. This
Yeah,
is
you can
wild.
quote me.
I'm going to go do some homework
Because
now.
Harvey Weinstein was horrible, but I don't think he like tortured people to death.
tortured people to death.
Yeah, because her whole thing was salvation through pain.
Yeah.
And sick people would go to her, and then
And
she
they'd have
would
to
just
look
like,
at her and they would die.
That's one take, but Google it. I mean, really horrible. Christopher Hitchens actually talked about it. I'm not the 10th person to even bring this
No,
up.
I've
But
heard.
Hitchens was so evil and mean.
He just had strong
He said women
opinions.
weren't funny.
I think that might have been a little bit taken out
He
of
was
context.
basing it on Mother Teresa.
But
Oh.
yeah.
Folks, Ed Larson, thank you, bud.
Always, man. This is the best part of my week, man.
That was really fun. Anything else we have to mention real quick?
I mean, we need to talk about. I mean, we just covered everything. Jenna Friedman on Twitter. You just spell her name, JenaFriedman. You don't want the attention. You wave me along. Like, forget this. I've had enough people talking. You can find her on Instagram. That's more friendly. Same name. American Cunt. Get it on Spotify. And go check out Miscarriage of Justice, which I believe is going to be in the New York Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is going to be cool.
November, well, we haven't announced it yet, but November 10th
Cool.
location.
So, nice. That's
good.
very cool.
We're not live. It'll be
Oh,
fun.
cool.
It'll be
Yeah.
fun.
And you just ran it in Edinburgh for a while, and so you're liking it.
Yeah, we got some really nice reviews, and I have to kind of tweak it for an American audience. I have a really good Jimmy Savile joke no one's going to get.
Oh, yeah. That guy.
Yeah.
And make sure you go check out all the Soft Focus YouTube shows. I mean, it's an amazing show, and the sexual harassment in gaming, Soft Focus with Jenna Friedman 2, and Cannibal Cop, Soft Focus with Jenna Friedman. Go check those out on YouTube.
Yeah, we put them all on YouTube.
Nice. All right. Come see me live, folks. Bumpin' Mike shows. Still plenty happening.
One of my favorite shows.
This weekend, the New York shows are sold out, so I'm sorry. But we'll be in Minnesota at the Mystic Lake Casino, October 19th. I'll be in Winnipeg, the Club Regent Theater, October 20th, with my man Dave Attell. Winnipeg. That'll be fun. Where else? Bensalem, Pennsylvania.
Ben Salem. That's going to be on,
Bensalem?
at the Parks Casino. It's only 20 miles from Philadelphia, so come on out.
When is that?
That is November 23rd, and then you got your Texas run in January. That's Austin on the 16th, San Antonio on the 17th, and Houston on the 18th. Tickets just became available. And then in December, you're doing some solo shows at the West Palm Beach Improv. That's going to be on December 13th through the 15th. And you got to go to roastmastergeneral.com for those tickets and all things Jeff Ross. You got to go get your merch, your emotional support human t-shirts, only $30. I'm offended by people who are offended mugs and t-shirts. You got to go get them there, folks. Be a supporter. Jeff, you've been seeing people wearing the shirts at the shows.
It's really fun, actually.
It's been great. In Twitter, you can catch us at Thick Skin Cast, and Instagram, Thick Skin with Jeff Ross. And I'm at Eddie Tunes _ on Twitter, Eddie Tunes on Instagram.
Great. Thank you, bud.
Thank you, man.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening, wherever you are. I appreciate you joining me for these group therapy sessions, or whatever you want to call it. We often talk about depression on the show and how you get up from the blues. I didn't ask you that, but is there one thing you do, Jenna, when you're feeling sad that you... Like, I turn on Rodney Dangerfield. I talk about it all the time. I just put on Rodney Dangerfield. Do you have, like, a go-to, like, upper?
I think I just get all of my sadness out in my comedy. So my inner world is pretty healthy. All my sadness is just my work.
You're so lucky. You're a good one. Well, that's good. Creativity, folks. It really pays off.
Yeah, and running also helps.
It keeps your brain... And running.
You're just moving if you're sad.
That's what Judd Apatow said.
It really helps.
Yeah. All right, folks.
And the ocean. Sorry. The
ocean does make me
negative
feel...
ions.
Yeah.
Positive vibes.
But don't just walk straight in.
No.
Ah. All great advice. I so appreciate you. Thank you for being a good friend. Jenna Friedman. Life is hard. Don't worry. We're getting through it together. Love you guys.
Bob Potato.